the roll sheets that are going around, and the responses are done and graded. I see a few people still submitting them, so let me know if you're submitting them in late for a good reason or not. And then I also saw that some people were doing the response set 2 already, which I suppose you could do, but they're using talks from before the midterm. So response set 2 is only for talks after the midterm, right? It can't be for anything done before the midterm. So I'm just sending those back because they're not due yet. You're not late or anything. It's just that those need to go back and be redone, and they're going to be due in a number of weeks. So that's no rush on those things. Any questions about the class or anything? Excellent. Okay, so we're going to get started now. We have Kelly-Cavanaugh who's going to talk to us about opportunities for the PreLaw Club today. So we're really excited about that. This is going to give us some information that you can use to get involved in a really important piece of our society. Remember, you don't have to have majored in law in order to go to law school. In fact, it's probably best if you don't. Law schools prefer to have people with wide-ranging experiences outside of this law itself. So it's something to keep in the back of your head. Maybe one day you'll decide that it's for you. And Heather's going to tell us all about how you can achieve that. Next week is David Sedlak from UC Berkeley, and then I'm speaking the week after that. We're getting close to the end of the semester, aren't we? That's exciting. Okay, so why don't you help me give a hand to Heather, and have a great time.
All right, hi guys. My name is Heather Kelly-Cavanaugh. I am a senior here at Sonoma State, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about what it takes to get into law school. So I'm currently studying for the LSAT, and that is the exam to get into law school. So I'm going to talk about the exam, talk about like realistically what you need to do in order to prepare, and some of your options, as well as the club. All right, so the LSAT, it stands for the Law School Admissions Test. Every law school that you would be applying to requires you to take this exam. However, if you have obtained a master's degree at any institution, usually law schools are lenient about you taking the law school entrance exam. Usually they'll waive it for you. So for the scoring for the exam, it is kind of tricky. So the exam is raw scored. So you take the exam and it's scored based on how many questions you get correct. You are not docked down for any questions that you get incorrect. Then they take your raw score and they will put it on the LSAT ranging scale of 120 to 180. 180 is the highest score that you can get, and 120 is the lowest score that you can get. There is 4 sections on the exam. There's logical reasoning, reading comprehension, a writing component, and logic games. Logic games is probably the trickiest part of the exam that people struggle with. Logic games consist of an example, like there's 3 people and they all have to work in 1 week, but they have differing schedules, who goes on what day. And then they will give you a set of conditions and you have to answer that based on the question. All right, so in law school, before you even get there, you have to register on the LSAC website. Registration, it takes a little bit, but it's just a simple and easy online application. You fill out your basic information, you put a photo of yourself on there, and then you can choose your registration date. These are the dates offered throughout the year. You can take the exam up to 5 times and your score will last for 5 years. The only thing about that is every time you take the exam, they average your score. So if you know that you did really poorly on the first time and you did really well the second time around, they're going to average that. So it's best if you do your very, very hardest and greatest on the first time you take the LSAT. There are fees for this exam. So law school is very expensive. I don't know if you guys know that already, but even before you get there, it's very expensive. The exam is $190. The CAS, which I'll talk about in a second, is another $190. That's not including application fees for law school and law school tuition itself. So you got to think about those fees before, thinking about this entire process, because it is expensive. So the CAS, which is the second $190, is the credential assembly service. You do have to pay for that along with registering for the LSAT. It's how they record your scores and how they will be sending them off to law schools for you. So I guess it's just their magical way of putting everything together and sending it. Along with paying for those things, you do need 3 letters of recommendation. So that's where you really need to make friends with any advisors or professors that you know. Ask them early, give them about a month or 2 in advance to write those letters, because there is specific prompts that the LSAC website does want. So that is something to consider. Also, transcripts, I'm pretty positive usually institutions have like a few dollar fee to get transcripts. Pay the fee, upload those transcripts online, and you'll be good to go. Then the last thing is accommodations. So if you are in disability services here at Sonoma State, getting accommodations on the LSAT is very difficult. I can tell you that right now. If you have all of your paperwork to support your accommodations, it should be okay. Just make sure to send all of that paperwork in, as well as the additional paperwork and forms that they're wanting you to fill out online. If you have received accommodations on any prior large exams, like the SAT, they will most likely carry those accommodations and any updated information onto the LSAT. Okay, so law school. When you're choosing a school, obviously you want to consider finances. I know that's a really big part for a lot of people. Law school can range anywhere from $40,000 to $150,000 for all your years. So you're usually looking at the higher end of the spectrum for pricing. Law school is not undergrad. You're paying top dollar, especially if it's at a private institution. So also location, if financial need is something that you're considering highly on like which school you want to go to, maybe it might be better to choose a location closer to home, so that way you don't have to pay for on-campus housing or additional housing outside of the school area in order just to attend the school. The other thing is ABA versus CBA. Do any of you guys know what that means? All right, didn't think so. A lot of people don't know what that means. So an ABA school and a CBA school are kind of similar, but 2 different things. An ABA school means that the law school is American Bar Association accredited, and then the CBA is California Bar accredited. Okay, so a lot of law schools will say, oh, we're ABA accredited. That means that you can take the bar exam anywhere in the country. If you're in a CBA school, you can only practice law in California. So that is a huge difference. For example, if you get your law degree here and you go to an ABA school, if you decide to move to Michigan, you have to take the Michigan bar, but you're able to do that because you attended an ABA school. Whereas if you attended a CBA school, you cannot do that, and you can only practice law in California. So that is a really big deal, because there is often a price difference. CBA schools are going to be much cheaper than ABA schools. ABA schools, you're paying for the geographic luxury, but you're also paying for more of like, I went to this school kind of thing. So an example is McGeorge School of Law at University of Pacific. That is an ABA school. You're paying around $55,000 a year. Whereas if you take Lincoln Law School in Sacramento, that's $40,000 all 4 years, night program. So that is also something that you have the option to do too. There is day program and there is night program. Night program is usually 4 years long. But it depends on you because law school can be really, really heavy. And some people are not able to take all the class load at the same time. Yeah, it can be really, really hard. Just because you're taking the 4-year schedule, though, does not mean that your classes will be easier. They're just spread out. Okay, so we went over the first 2 points. And another thing that people often ask me is, do jobs look at this? Because sometimes people will frown upon CBA schools, as in they're not good enough, they're not ABA accredited, I would never want to go to a CBA school. Do jobs look at this? The answer is yes. Jobs do look at this. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take an ABA candidate over a CBA candidate. What you bring to the table, what you bring to the interview is how they're going to choose if you're going to be getting that job or not. So you really just soak in all that knowledge, really bring your full self forward when in job interviews. My stepmom actually works for the Department of Water Resources, and she has passed down to me some knowledge that there are people from McGeorge and people from Lincoln Law School working in the same building, and they are equal. And some of the Lincoln Law School people are really, really fantastic and bright. So just because you go to an ABA school doesn't mean you're going to come out a shining star. It really is what you make of your law school experience. Okay, so obviously the first thing is a good LSAT score. The good LSAT score is what law schools are going to be mainly looking for when you're submitting your applications. Your GPA from your undergrad does matter. It really does. However, they're primarily looking at your good LSAT score because the LSAT score is basically, it's just the way you're going to get in. So time management. Time management is a huge thing. When you're studying for this exam, it's not the SAT. It's 10 times harder than the SAT, let me tell you right now. If you're going to be studying for this exam, you really do need to have a set timeline of how you're going to study for this. People start studying between 3 and 8 months in advance. For me, I studied 5. I'm going to be taking my exam November 17th. So it's coming up real soon. Also, for me, I study 3 to 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's on top of a full load of classes, being president of a club, being in an internship, volunteering, and doing outside of school youth leader training. If I can do it, I know most all of you can do it as well. It's hard, it's complicated, but if you really, really put your best foot forward, you can achieve the LSAT score that you want to achieve. And also the last thing I put in there, I had to do it, constant sanity. I know it may seem like, oh, really? But it truly is something that you need to keep in mind going through all of these things, even if you're just taking classes and studying for the LSAT and that's it, and you're not involved in any extracurriculars. Being sane is something that is really going to help you get that score that you want. Keeping on track for your study plan of, okay, I'm going to do these 3 homeworks. I'm going to study for these 2 hours today. Where can I really skip the studying for one day and just take a breather? So really staying on track and focused towards your end goal is where you want to be if you're studying for this exam. Okay. So, online study courses. I'm currently taking an online study course. As you can see, the prices are a little shocking. They are expensive. Remember all those prices I told you about in the beginning of just paying for the exam? Well, there's these 2. You don't have to pay for these online study courses, but I highly recommend it. I thought to myself, oh, I'm not going to do that. It's too much money. I'm just going to get a book from Barnes & Noble and do exams online. It'll be great. It'll be fine. I misspoke big time. Having an online study course is one of the best things you could ever do in studying for this exam, in my opinion. I personally went with Kaplan. I went for the live online course. I was about to go for the self course, but the additional things that you receive with the live online course is much better. So what you get is a teacher there. It's like I'll show you guys a slide in a minute, but you get a teacher who's actually talking and walking you through the course material that they send you in the mail and preparing you. So being able to interact with that teacher, ask questions live instead of studying yourself is so much better. Just because if you're studying by yourself, it can be hard to motivate yourself. Okay, am I really going to sit down for 3 hours today and study? Or am I going to watch Netflix for 3 hours? You're probably going to watch Netflix for 3 hours. We've all been there. But for my online experience, I have class every Thursday for 4 hours online. And there is a few 10-minute breaks, and you are going through your course book like no other. So there is a lot of advantages to the online course, like I said. Highly recommend it. If you are able to have your parents help you with this supplemental material, I would ask them for it. Because studying for the SAT, it's, like I said, it's very different from studying for a graduate level entrance exam. So for the prices here, so I have Kaplan. Test Masters, we actually, as my club, the PreLaw Society, I'm the president, we hosted a mock LSAT a couple weeks ago from Test Masters, and with that, they actually give me a code to give to anybody who's interested in taking the course. It's the live online course. You get $300 off. And also right now, the Princeton Review is having sales right now if you do want to consider purchasing. But yeah, you could see the difference between, and these are just 3 online study course options. There's lots more out there, lots. Okay, so these are some of the study books. I have bought the LSAT Unlocked book by Kaplan before I even considered taking the online Kaplan course. This book ranges from $60 to $80. It's like this thick. It's fat. It's a lot of information, but that's exactly what you're going through when you're doing the online course. So be prepared to read every single page if you buy that book. There's also other books that are similar to this that are study books. They're probably going to be just as thick and around the same price. Amazon obviously has cheaper options sometimes, so check out there if you wanted to get another type of book. These 2 books, the Logic Games Bible, this one is a really powerful one. The Power Score LSAT books, they have a different book for a different section of the exam. So you can really work just on one section, like, oh, I know I'm struggling at Logic Games, let's get this book. This one right here is an official LSAT book, 10 tests. I go through one of those in a week. So I do a lot of practice exams, and I think that book cost $20. So, and I got that book on Amazon. So the main thing about the LSAT is you really have to practice. Just keep practicing. It is a skills-based exam. If you don't have the skills, you're not going to pass. You have to build those skills. There are things that I have learned since taking the course that have altered my view and my way of studying altogether, and that have been really positive actually, and things that I never would have thought of. So it really does challenge you in a way to better your mind in the way that you study and the way that you handle a test environment. Okay, so this is a screenshot of my personal online Kaplan course. It doesn't really show you any of the practice exams or anything because that was too much for this. But I just wanted to show you a general outline of what we have here. So on the left is the core sessions. That is what I have been doing every single Thursday. So that is what we are going through and going over. This Thursday is the countdown to test day. So, oh my goodness, anxiety. So you have the preview video that you watch before you get into the class session, which I always watch because it's actually very helpful. And then you have the actual class session, and then after every class session, there is homework. So obviously, you do the homework on your own time. You're paying for this course. If you don't want to do your homework and you want to waste the $1,300 and just sit there and watch the lectures, that's fine. But I can tell you right now that doing the homework and doing all of the things that they ask you to is going to make your score improve tenfold. So for this, after you're done with the homework, they suggest videos to you. They give you practice tests. They give you all the LSAT tests that have ever come out. They give you access to those, so you can practice those. They also give you full explanations of the answers. Some people don't want, myself included, before I started this, I don't want to read the explanations to answers. That's too much. The explanations for the answers is what's going to help you pass. I promise you. They are able to explain things that you wouldn't even think of. Like, oh, that's why it's right? Yeah, that's why it's right. The explanations are amazing. Also, the video content. They have videos for every single thing that you could imagine. Every single little question that you can have, they have videos for. So it's, I'm struggling with the reading comprehension. In this specific section of the reading comprehension, there's a topic. I'm struggling. They have a video for that. So in addition to the homework, in addition to the practice tests, in addition to that book that I showed you with all those exams, they have the videos to help you. And it really is worth it. The money that you are paying for this course, from my experience thus far, 110% worth it. Okay, so this is what this is actually a video, but this is what the regular class sessions usually look like. So the format can sometimes be switched, but it's the same thing. So you have the video of the teacher in the corner. You have the public chat here on the left-hand side. You have the tutorial in the middle. And then usually on the bottom right there in that blank space, since this is a pre-recorded video, there is no private Q&A. But there are 3 teachers in the classroom at the same time. So you have one teacher teaching the lecture, and then you have 2 other teachers down there in the private Q&A, unless you have a question, hey, we just did number 5, I'm not really sure, can you explain this to me really quick? They're going to explain it to you, so you don't have to put that information into the public chat, because they're moving. They really are. So one of the things I found out is a lot of people want extra help. And if you want extra help outside of the class session to really answer your questions, you're probably going to have to pay for private tutoring, which can be anywhere from an extra $200 to $500 for private tutoring. So keep that in mind. But some people really benefit from that. And if you know, yes, I'm a one-on-one person, then maybe that may be the way to go. Okay. So a little bit about my experience. I told you guys about my time commitment, how many times a week I study. I am exhausted. I am extremely tired. It has been a journey studying for this exam. It's not something that you can just brush over. This is your future that you would be thinking about, especially if you want to do best the first time you take the exam. So knowing and being realistic with your time commitment, like I said in the beginning, is very important. If you don't have time, if you think in the back of your mind, oh, maybe I might not have enough time, I would not start studying until you have time, because it has been really difficult. Another thing I have had to consider is postponing my exam. If you have registered and you want to postpone your exam, it is an additional fee. Of course, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg. You're trying to get into law school. It is $125 to postpone your exam. So by the time I considered postponing my exam, I had 2 days to decide whether I wanted to do it. And that's a time crunch because certain law schools have different dates for applications. So Davis needs their applications in by December, but McGeorge doesn't need their applications in until the beginning of next year. So if you really want to go to Davis, then don't postpone your exam. But if you really want to go to McGeorge, then you can postpone it. It's just every school has a different date, so it can be really difficult whether or not, you know, you're going to decide to postpone your exam. Also, if you're postponing your exam, it can be difficult in general for admissions. Most law schools accept applications on a rolling basis. That means that applications are accepted as they come in. However, for first-time students in law school, it starts in the fall. So if you know that you're going to be applying later than usual for the fall, you might not get accepted because you're applying later than usual. So that was a challenge that I ran into, so I did not postpone my exam. I'm going through it. Wish me luck. It is a very intensive exam. Altogether, it's going to be 5 hours sitting in a room. Long one. The last thing was the reality of skills. I really had to be true to myself and say, do I actually have these skills to pass the exam? Building up the skills has really been a challenge. Like I said, the videos and the professors and the online course have helped greatly. But when it comes down to it and you're studying by yourself, you need to be real and say, wow, how much work is necessary in order for me to get the score that I want? And that's something that you need to take into consideration because there's so much studying to do, so much. Okay, so this is basically what I've said so far, the first couple points. You know, be realistic. You guys know whether or not you want to do this. Figure it out. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Get some advice. Talk to your school counselor. Like, just talk to someone if you're really not sure about it. You can even talk to me because I've been through the decisions, I've been through the choices. I've talked to many people about postponing their exam, taking their exam, what it was like. I do have background in law, so I know a lot about it. The biggest thing is it's not a mirror of undergrad. Law school, oh, no. It is on a way another level. It's not, oh my God, can I like really pass this exam if I don't study? No, it's not like that. Law school is a majority of essays. Like, that's your exams. You usually have, if you do, like a midterm and a final, and that's it. That's the exam. So for law school, one of the main things you're going to be using is outlines. If you have good outlines, people are going to be your best friends. Everyone is going to want to surround you to get those outlines because you are able to use those on your written portion of the exam. Some teachers might not allow it, but most law schools let you use your outlines on your final exams. So that is a big thing. So taking good notes now, learning how to really minimize and maximize your information in your notes is what's really going to help you in law school. Prepare yourself now for the future. Even though you're still just trying to focus on now, I promise you it will pay off. It really will. Okay, so we're getting near the end of the presentation here, and I just wanted to tell you guys about my club. So I am the president of the PreLaw Society here on campus. We offer a lot of things. So we offer workshops, whether that be on how to register on the LSAT website, any general questions that you may have, looking at law schools online, where to find the admissions information, where to find the financial aid information, those kinds of things. We are going to be having a field trip to SF. There is a law forum in San Francisco on November 2nd. So if you are interested, come up to me afterwards, or I will have my email at the end. You can email me. It is free. All you have to do is you need to go to the LSAC website and register. You don't have to pay anything because you're not paying for the exam. But you do have to register, and then it just says law forum, and then you just say register, and that's it. Really, really easy. So with the law forum, there is, I think, 180 schools across the country going to be there. It's kind of like an undergrad, like, tabling event where you saw all the schools from everywhere. It's pretty much just like that, but for law school. They also have workshops when you are there, and presentations and panels that you will be able to go to when you're there. lots of information. Another thing that we have is guest speakers. Inviting guest speakers that are involved in law now, are alumni of SSU that have went into law, or just speakers in general based on what members in the club want to see. And the panels, one of the big things next semester is going to be an environmental panel that I'm going to be having. So I am going to be trying to work with AS to do something during Earth Week. So we can have a panel of environmental speakers come. I think that would be really, really interesting. Give updates not only on politics-related events that are happening, but just the environment in general. I'm an environmental major, and that is very close to my heart, so that is why I will be doing the panels. All right, so here's the end. We do have a Facebook page. If you wanted to add on the Facebook page, there it is. It's public. For a while, some people were telling me it was private and they couldn't find it. I made it public, so I don't think that should be an issue now. But here are the two emails. There is a general email for the Sonoma PreLaw Society, and then there is my personal email right there. I check my email. I get so many emails. I check my email about 7 times a day. So you will hear from me within an hour or two if you do email me and it is something urgent. All right, so that is the end of the presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you. Questions? Comments? Yes?
When you said that the lowest score you can get is the 120, the highest is 180, how many questions are there? What are, like, how many points are each of the questions?
So each question is worth 1 point each. There can be a range from 101 to 103 questions. So each section is around 25 to 27 questions. Oh, that is one thing I forgot to mention. For the LSAT, there is the sections that I told you guys, but one of them is a repeat. And one of those sections does not count towards your score. So, and you don't know which one it is. So if you see 2 repeats of the logic games or the reading comprehension, you don't know which one is going to be taken into account. So that is something they try to trick you with, and so which means you need to do your best on the entire exam. And the writing component is considered by schools, but it's not primarily what schools are looking at when it comes to your score. All right.
What are some good majors for pre-law?
Political science. Philosophy is a good one too. I know that the philosophy major here on campus does have a pre-law concentration, but like you said, you don't need to have any background in law to get a law degree. I know someone who got a fashion degree and they're in water law now. So totally reversed. It is better to have a good background. So like that's why I'm an environmental major. I do want to be an environmental lawyer working for the Department of Water Resources. So that is my main focus. So get your major in wherever you want and really focus on that. Bring that to the table. You integrate your knowledge into your law degree. It'll help.
So oftentimes I encounter students who graduate and then they go into the work world for a few years and then they decide that they want to go to law school later. Do you have any advice? Because that might happen to some of the people in here. They think they're going one direction, but then they change their mind a couple of years later.
I would say really look at your options. If you're going to go that route and you want to save, like a lot of people will graduate and then they'll take a couple years off because they want to save money to go to law school. That's perfectly fine. You guys don't need to go to law school straight out of the gate. Just know that once you get out of that school mindset, it is hard to get back in for a lot of people. It's really, really difficult. So if you're considering doing that, I would really think about whether or not you really want to go to law school, because if you take a break and you start studying and you pay all of this money and you're not really putting all of your effort into it, it's kind of like, why? So just really be knowledgeable of whether or not it is a path you want to go down, because it is a long one. It's a long one. There's a lot of steps to get to the end, and they're not easy steps either. So just be realistic on you and whether or not you're going to be able to jump back into all of the rigorous schoolwork, because it's harder than undergrad.
So another thing to bring up is one of the, so you talked about the logic games being a difficult portion of the exam, and it is. But on campus in our GE program, you have to take A3. One of the ways you can get your A3 PE is by taking the logic class. We have logic classes in the philosophy department, and one of our logic classes is specifically devoted to LSAT logic games. So that would be a super cheap way. You're just getting your degree anyway, and just keep that in mind. Like if LSAT is something in your future, you can get that part of the test prep just done for free as you're getting your degree.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it, just because the class, it's not just for LSAT. When you're learning how to do those logic games, honestly, it's a different way of thinking. I know I am someone who struggled with math. So if you're someone who struggles with math and you take that course, it might be a challenge for you. But if you're looking to take the LSAT, that challenge is something that's going to be really good, because you can overcome it now before you start studying for the LSAT. It really does, it's going to help you. It really does help you look at things differently and solve problems differently. So you're not only building skills, but you're building life skills and learning about yourself while studying for this exam. I know that sounds kind of like what, but it's true. It really is.
That is true. I've taught logic for many years, and one of the frustrating things about it is people put that class off, and so oftentimes when you teach the class, it's a 100 level class, and there's going to be seniors in there, like seniors and juniors, and quite often I have this encounter where the senior will come up after the class and say, wow, I really wish I had known this 3 years ago, because it really would have helped in all my other classes, and that's true. So take it early, right? It's meant to be a freshman class, or sophomore at the latest.
All right, any other comments or questions?
So I have a comment about letters of recommendation. That's another thing that I write a lot of, and so like currently, when are you applying for graduate school? I mean for law school?
I'm going to be applying like right after I take my exam.
Okay, so so when did you start asking for letters of recommendation then?
I started asking the beginning of October.
That's correct. So a lot of times I get a few people like you who give me enough time to write the letter, and then I get a whole lot of people that ask me in the last week of November, and they're trying to get into Davis, and that's really difficult for me. And I write a lot of these letters, and if I want to do a good job on it, it takes a couple of hours, and so you need to really give the person you're asking to do the letters a lot of time. You need to give them a lot of information so they can craft a really good letter for you. And especially if you're going to do that thing where you go away for 2 or 3 years and then come back, I may not necessarily remember you all that well. I might or might not. So you have to give even more information, right, and more time. So very important.
Yeah, letters of recommendation, do not do them late. Let me tell you that right now. A lot of professors or advisors will turn you away if you just give them a week or even 2 weeks. They need at least a month, if not 2 months in advance, to really, they're putting out a good word for you. You know, if you are close with them, they're really going to try and pull those elements into your letter of recommendation. This is what's going to be helping you get into law school. It's coming from another professor. It's coming from a professional. So give them time to draft that good word for you, because it really does matter. It's not going to mean the same thing as your schoolmate. She's great. It's not the same thing. So really, really put in the time, and especially coming back the couple years later, that's why they say really get to know your professors and your advisors, make an impression, go to office hours, even if it's for questions, because I know some of you guys have questions. Make those connections. Because when it comes time for applying for professional jobs or getting those letters of recommendations, you might be like, you know, oh crap, I don't know anybody. And you're going to wish that you made those connections during your undergrad time.
Excellent. All right, any other last minute things? Okay, well, thank you so much. That was really
Thank you.